You keep hitting snooze on more than an alarm clock. You're hitting snooze on your own life. 6 minutes, then 9, then just 15 more, and you tell yourself it's harmless. It's just sleep. It's just this one morning. But here's a truth nobody hands you along with your coffee. How you wake up is how you live. Not because mornings are magic, because mornings are evidence. Evidence of what you actually believe about your own future, gathered before the rest of the world gets a chance to talk you out of it. You've been waiting for motivation to get you up early, for inspiration to make the blanket feel less warm and the goal feel more real. But motivation is a visitor. It shows up when it feels like it, and it leaves the same way. Discipline is a resident. It stays whether you feel like it or not. If you're waiting for the feeling to arrive before you take the action, you're waiting for a season that is never going to come on its own. So let's stop waiting. Let's start building. Because for the time we spend together here, I'm going to ask something of you that no alarm clock ever could. I'm going to ask you to finally be honest about the life your mornings have been quietly building, one snooze at a time. And then I'm going to hand you exactly what you need to build something else instead. Here's the part most people don't want to hear. Your mornings are not separate from your life. Your mornings are your life, replayed in miniature, every single day. The way you negotiate with your alarm clock is the same way you negotiate with your goals. Just 5 more minutes at 6 in the morning quietly becomes just 1 more year at 35. I'll start tomorrow at sunrise becomes I'll start next quarter in your career. It's too cold to get up becomes years later it's too hard to change. You are not a different person at 6 in the morning than you are at 6 at night. You're the same person, making the same kind of decision in a smaller and quieter room, which is exactly why it matters so much. Character isn't built in the big, filmed, applauded moments. Character is built in the small ones nobody ever sees. Nobody claps when you get up before the sun. Nobody films the fact that you didn't reach for snooze. There's no trophy for making your bed. But that's the entire point. Success was never a public performance. Success is a private discipline, repeated so consistently in the dark that it eventually shows up in the light for everyone else to notice. So here's a question I want you to actually sit with, not just skim past. If someone recorded your last 30 mornings and played them back to you like a film, would you be proud of the person on the screen? Would you watch that footage and think, there she is, becoming who she said she wanted to be? Or would you see 30 replays of the same quiet surrender, the same negotiation, the same promise made to yourself at midnight and broken before your feet even touched the floor? I'm not telling you this to shame you. Shame never built anything. It just repaints the same old house in a darker color. I'm telling you this because you cannot fix what you refuse to look at. And most people have never once looked at their mornings as the birthplace of their entire direction in life. So let's look. Honestly, you don't have a motivation problem. You have a philosophy problem. Motivation says, I'll get up early once my life gets better. Philosophy says, my life gets better once I get up early. One of those is a wish. The other is a decision. And in the whole of human history, only one of them has ever actually changed anybody's future. Let me hand you one idea. If you actually use it, it won't just change your wake-up time. It will change the entire shape of what your life becomes. Here it is. There are only 2 kinds of pain available to you in this life: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Discipline is the alarm at 5:30. Regret is lying awake at 55, wondering exactly where the last 30 years disappeared to. Discipline is the short, cold walk before the world wakes up. Regret is looking in the mirror one day and not recognizing the confidence or the body of the person looking back. Discipline is closing the phone and opening a book. Regret is realizing, far too late, that you spent a decade scrolling through other people's lives instead of building one of your own. Feel this contrast. Don't just hear it. Choose the pain of discipline, and it lasts a moment, and it builds a person. Choose the pain of regret, and it lasts a lifetime, and it slowly buries a person. Not in the ground, but underneath a pile of excuses and unfinished sentences that all begin with, "I used to want to." So which pain are you choosing this week? Not next year, not eventually, this week. Because regret doesn't knock loudly. It doesn't introduce itself in your 20s and announce its arrival. Regret is patient. It collects itself one snoozed alarm at a time, one skipped morning at a time, one "I'll start Monday" at a time. And then, decades later, it hands you the entire bill at once, with interest attached. Discipline collects itself the same slow way, except discipline is paying you, not charging you. Every early intentional morning is a small deposit into a future you haven't met yet, but who will absolutely thank you for showing up. So which one are you making today? A deposit or a debt? You don't get to opt out of pain. That was never on the table for anyone, in any life, in any era. You only get to choose which pain, and when you're willing to feel it now, in a form small enough to survive. An early alarm, one disciplined hour, a small promise kept. Or feel it later, in a form large enough to define you. The ache of a life half used, of gifts left in their packaging, of mornings that could have built something, and instead built nothing at all. Discipline is the bridge. Discipline is the choice. Discipline is the price you pay in advance, so you never have to apologize for the life you built later. Now let's deal with the objection that's probably sitting quietly in the back of your mind right now. Some version of this thought. I've tried the early mornings. I've tried the discipline. It didn't work. Maybe I'm just not built for this. Let me answer that with something a farmer has always known, and something the rest of us conveniently forgot the moment we left the countryside for the city. Life has seasons, and no one, regardless of effort, gets to skip any of them. There's a planting season, a growing season, a harvest season. And yes, there is a winter. Winter isn't a punishment. Winter isn't proof that the farmer failed. Winter is simply a season, cold, quiet, and necessary, that arrives before the ground is ready to be worked again. Here's exactly where most people get it wrong. They mistake their winter for their identity. They fail at something in January, and by February they've quietly decided, "I am a failure," instead of the far more accurate, "I am currently in a season." Do you see the difference? One is a life sentence. The other is a Tuesday. A farmer doesn't stand in his frozen field in the dead of December, stare at the barren dirt, and conclude that farming simply doesn't work for him. He knows precisely what winter is, and precisely what it's for. He uses it, not to quit, but to prepare, to repair his tools, to study last year's harvest and understand exactly what to change before spring. That's the actual difference between the person who stays stuck and the person who eventually succeeds. It was never that one of them never failed. It's that one of them treated failure as evidence, and the other treated it as a verdict. Your last failed attempt at waking up early, at building this exact habit, at becoming the person you already know you're capable of being, wasn't a verdict on your character. That was winter, and winter always ends, but only for the people who don't quit the field. So here's the real question hiding underneath. I've tried this before and it didn't work. Did it actually not work? Or did you quit somewhere in the middle of a season that was never going to reward you yet? Nothing you plant blooms the same day it's planted. Not one seed in the entire history of agriculture has ever broken the surface within 24 hours. And yet we expect our own growth to behave differently. We plant a single disciplined morning, and when we don't see a transformed life by Thursday, we rip the seed back out of the ground just to check whether it's working. That single habit, the constant checking, the constant quitting before harvest, is the actual reason so many people never meet the version of their life that was waiting for them on the other side of one complete season of discipline. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply, quite possibly, standing in a season you haven't finished yet. So finish it. Let this be the one you don't walk away from early. There's an old law that governs every field. Every harvest, and, whether you've noticed it yet or not, every single morning of your life. You will reap what you sow, not what you wish for, not what you intend, what you actually plant. This isn't punishment. It isn't karma dressed up in spiritual language. It's simply how growth has worked since the first seed ever met the first patch of soil. Now point that law at your alarm clock. Every morning you sow discipline, rising when you said you would, spending the first hour with intention instead of by accident. You are planting a seed whose harvest you may not see for months, maybe longer. But every morning you sow the snooze, the scroll, the 9 extra minutes of hiding from your own life. You are planting a seed too. It grows as well. It simply doesn't grow into anything you'll be proud to harvest. Here's the part that trips people up. The field doesn't ask how you feel about the seed. It doesn't care that you meant to plant something better. It only grows whatever was actually placed into the ground. So the real question was never, do I want a great life? Everyone answers yes to that. It's a meaningless question, answered yes by roughly 100% of the human population. The real question is, what did I actually plant this morning? Because here's what almost nobody tells you about the mornings that end up changing a life. They rarely feel dramatic while they're happening. Rising 30 minutes earlier to read 10 pages doesn't feel like a life-altering event. It feels like 10 pages. 20 minutes of movement before the world wakes up doesn't feel like the start of a transformation. It feels like 20 minutes. 5 quiet minutes with a notebook, deciding what actually matters today before the world hands you its own list, doesn't feel like architecture. It feels like 5 minutes. But this is precisely how compounding works. And compounding remains the single most powerful force available to an ordinary person willing to be patient. One disciplined morning will not change your life. I want to be honest with you about that, because false promises are exactly how people get talked into quitting in week 1, the moment the miracle fails to show up on schedule. But 30 disciplined mornings start to change your identity. 300 start to change your capability. And roughly a decade of showing up for yourself before the world demands anything of you does not simply change your life. It builds an entirely different person than the one who hit snooze this morning without a second thought. So plant like you mean it. Plant like you actually believe the harvest is real, even on the days you can't see a single sign of it yet. You will reap exactly what you sow. And right now, this morning, you are the one holding the seed. Let's deal honestly with the excuses, because you have some. And so does every single person who has ever wanted to change and didn't. I'm not a morning person. My job doesn't allow it. I have kids. I have a commute. My life isn't as simple as it sounds in a video. I'm not going to insult you by pretending your circumstances don't matter. They do. Life is genuinely harder for some people than others, and anyone who tells you otherwise is usually selling something. But here's the distinction that changes everything, if you let it sink in. It isn't the economy that decides your mornings. It isn't your job. It isn't your kids, your traffic, your government, or the family you happen to be born into. It's your philosophy. 2 people can carry almost identical circumstances, the same income, the same demands, the same 24 hours, and end up with 2 completely different lives, because one of them holds the philosophy of, this is happening to me, and the other holds the philosophy of, this is happening, and I still get to decide what I do inside of it. Circumstances are the hand you were dealt. Philosophy is how you choose to play it. I want to be careful here, because this is exactly the point where people twist responsibility into something cruel. Taking responsibility for your life is not the same thing as blaming yourself for everything that has ever happened to you. You may not be responsible for the family you were born into, the body you started with, or the disadvantages stacked against you before you could even speak. But you are entirely responsible for what you build with whatever is left over. And that responsibility, uncomfortable as it feels, happens to be the most liberating thing you will ever pick up. Because if the causes were all external, so would the cure be, and that would leave you genuinely powerless. You are not powerless. You are, at most, currently undirected. Undirected effort still produces a result. It just produces whatever result habit, gravity, and default settings decide to hand you, which is usually the same tired result you've been getting for years. Directed effort, aimed and chosen and repeated on purpose, produces a life that actually starts to resemble the one you say you want. So here's the contrast, stated as plainly as I can put it. Keep waiting for your conditions to improve before you improve yourself, and you will wait forever, because conditions were never designed to hand you motivation. They were designed to test whether you already have some. But improve yourself first. Your habits, your standards, your mornings, and your conditions will eventually have no choice but to follow, because a changed person cannot indefinitely go on living an unchanged life. Stop asking life to go easier on you. Start asking yourself to grow stronger than whatever life hands you. That single shift, from managing your circumstances to managing yourself, is the actual dividing line between the people who stay stuck and the people who don't. There's a habit almost everyone falls into without noticing, and it quietly keeps more people stuck than almost anything else on this list. We wish for easier. We rarely wish to become more. We wish the market were kinder, the boss more understanding, the mornings less demanding, the whole climb a little less steep. On the surface, that seems like a harmless thing to want. Who wouldn't want life to be a little easier? But here's what that wish quietly does to you over time. It aims your energy at the wrong target. It asks the world to shrink down to meet your current size, instead of asking you to grow large enough to meet the world as it actually is. Wishing for easier is a request. Becoming better is a decision. And only one of those two has ever been within your control. The market will not get easier because you wished it would. Your circumstances will not soften just because you'd prefer them to. But you are entirely capable of becoming someone stronger, sharper, more disciplined, more skilled than you are right now. That door has never once been locked. So the next time life feels heavy, and it will, ask yourself a slightly different question than the one you're used to asking. Not, how do I make this easier? But, who do I need to become so this stops being too heavy for me? That single shift in the question changes everything downstream of it, including your mornings. Getting up early doesn't get easier because you wish it would. It gets easier because you become the kind of person for whom 5:30 is simply what time the day starts. The same unremarkable way a different person's day starts at 7. That transformation isn't granted. It's built, one repetition at a time, by someone who stopped asking for an easier road and started asking to become strong enough for the one already in front of them. Two students can sit in the same classroom, hear the same lecture, read the same book. One leaves wishing the material were simpler. The other leaves asking what she'd need to become to master it. Same room, same hour, two entirely different trajectories, and the difference was never the material. It was the question each of them asked about it. Ask the second question every single morning for the rest of your life and watch what it slowly does to the shape of your future. Here's a piece of this philosophy most people accidentally skip because it sounds backwards the first time you hear it. Your job will make you a living, but it's what you do with yourself before and after that job that makes you a life. Most people spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week sharpening their skills for somebody else's company, and exactly 0 hours sharpening the actual instrument doing all that work. Their own mind, their own habits, their own character. Then they wonder, years later, why the promotion never came, why the business never took off, why the opportunity walked right past them and landed on somebody else who didn't seem, on paper, any more talented. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Opportunity rarely fails to knock. Far more often, the person simply wasn't developed enough yet to recognize it, or ready enough to answer the door when it did. So this is the discipline hiding inside the discipline. Before you build your business, build yourself. Before you chase the promotion, become the kind of person promotions get handed to without a fight. Where does that self-building actually happen? Rarely at work, almost never in the meeting, or the shift, or the inbox. It happens in the first hour of your morning, when nobody is asking anything of you yet, and you get to decide, freely, what kind of person you're going to practice being today. Read something that stretches you, even 10 minutes of it. Move your body before it has to carry you through 8 hours of somebody else's demands. Sit with your own thoughts, long enough to actually hear them, instead of drowning them out with the first notification of the day. None of that will show up on a job description. None of it will get you a bonus this quarter. But compounded over years, it's the actual difference between a person who has a job and a person who has built a life that the job merely happens to be a part of. Work hard at your job. That was never in question. But work harder on yourself, because your job can be taken away in a single afternoon. What you've built inside yourself cannot. I want to add one more layer to this, because discipline doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens inside a room, surrounded by other people, whether you've noticed them shaping you or not. Here's something worth sitting with. You are quietly becoming an average of the conversations you have the most, the habits you watch the closest, and the opinions you let carry the most weight. If everyone around you sleeps until the last possible minute, hits snooze without a second thought, and treats ambition like something a little embarrassing to admit out loud, you will find it very difficult to be the one person in that room quietly rising before the sun. Not impossible, just difficult, and difficult, over enough years, tends to win. This isn't a call to abandon anyone who loves you. It's a call to notice, honestly, which voices in your life are handing you permission to grow, and which ones are quietly handing you permission to stay exactly where you already are. Some of those voices need more of your time. Some of them, gently and without drama, need less. And some of the most important seats in that room aren't other people at all. They're the books you choose to read, the voices you choose to listen to on the way to work, the version of a future self you allow yourself to picture, and how often you actually picture it. You cannot always control the room you were born into, but you can absolutely start choosing the room you sit in every morning going forward. And mornings, more than any other hour of the day, are the one time when that room is entirely, quietly, yours to design. Let me warn you about something before we go any further, because it's going to try to sabotage you the moment this video ends. The instant you decide to change, some part of you will go looking for a hack, a shortcut, the one trick, the one app, the one system that lets you skip the boring middle part and land straight at the results. I need to tell you plainly, that shortcut does not exist. It has never existed. Everyone selling you one is selling you a beautifully wrapped version of nothing. What actually exists is a ladder, and a ladder, by its very design, cannot be skipped. You climb one rung, then the next, then the one after that. There has never been a version of climbing that involves teleporting to the top. Here's what that means for your morning specifically. You don't need a flawless 5-hour routine with cold plunges, 40 minutes of journaling, and a green juice that takes 11 minutes to blend. That isn't a ladder. That's a fantasy, engineered to make you feel like a failure before you've even started. Because nobody sustains that on day 4, let alone day 400. What you need is one rung, something so small it feels almost embarrassing to call it a discipline. Wake up 15 minutes earlier than you do right now. Not 3 hours earlier. 15 minutes. Repeat it until it stops being a decision and simply becomes who you are. Then add the next rung, then the one after that. This is what almost nobody wants to hear, because it isn't exciting, it won't make a viral headline, and it demands the one ingredient modern life has quietly trained you to avoid: patience. Character isn't built from information. You already knew you should get up earlier before this video started. Information was never the missing piece. Character is built from repetition, from doing the small right thing when it's inconvenient, when it's cold, when nobody's watching, when there's no reward waiting, except the private knowledge that you did exactly what you said you would. That quiet, private knowledge, repeated daily, is where real confidence actually comes from. Not affirmations shouted at a mirror. Evidence. You come to trust yourself the same way you'd come to trust anyone else. by watching them keep their word, morning after morning, rung after rung. So stop looking for the elevator. There isn't one, and there never has been, for anybody, in any generation, in any field of human endeavor. There is only the ladder, your own two hands, and the choice to climb one rung higher than you did yesterday. Here's something worth understanding clearly, because it changes how you think about every single morning from this point forward. You are not just building a routine, you are building a person. Every time you rise when you said you would, you are casting a small, quiet vote for the kind of person you actually are. Not the kind of person you post about or talk about or hope to be someday. The one your actual behavior, at 5:30 in the morning, with nobody watching, reveals you to be. And every time you don't, you're casting a vote too. That's the part people conveniently forget. There is no neutral morning. There is no version of today that doesn't count toward who you're becoming. You are always voting. The only choice is which direction. This is why the goal was never really wake up early, treated as some isolated standalone task, like checking a box. The actual goal underneath it is to become someone who keeps their word to themselves, in small things, consistently, until keeping your word becomes your identity rather than your effort. Think about the people you admire most, whoever they are for you. I'd guess it isn't really their talent that draws you in, not at the core of it. It's their consistency. It's the sense that you know, with real confidence, what they'll do tomorrow, because you've watched what they did today, and yesterday, and the day before that. That is not an accident of personality. That's the accumulated residue of thousands of small mornings, each one a brick laid on top of the last, until eventually the bricks stopped looking like effort and started looking like character. You are laying your own bricks right now, this week, whether you notice it or not. The only question is whether you're laying them on purpose, toward a structure you actually chose, or by accident, toward whatever shape gravity and convenience happen to hand you. Choose the first one. Lay the brick on purpose. Because 5 years from now, nobody is going to ask you what your alarm was set for. They're going to meet the person those mornings quietly built, and they won't know or need to know a single detail about how it happened. They'll simply meet the result. Let the result be one you're proud to introduce. I want to be honest about something, because I don't want you to hear any of this as never rest, never relax, punish yourself into exhaustion. That isn't discipline. That's just a different, quieter way of running from yourself. Rest is not the enemy of this philosophy. Comfort, as a permanent address, is. There's a difference between resting so you can rise again and resting so you never have to rise at all. The first is wisdom. The second is a slow, comfortable kind of surrender that doesn't even feel like losing while it's happening, which is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Comfort is the only trap in the world that convinces you you're safe while it's quietly costing you everything. Think about it honestly. A muscle that's never challenged doesn't stay the same. It doesn't hold its ground. It weakens. Comfort doesn't preserve you. It slowly erodes you, so gradually that you don't notice the loss until you try to do something that used to be easy and discover it isn't anymore. The same law applies to ambition, to confidence, to your capacity for hard mornings. Avoid the discomfort of rising early long enough. And it isn't that you stay the same person who could have done it. You become someone with less capacity to do it than you had a year ago. This is why the goal was never to suffer more. Suffering isn't the point, and I'd be lying to you if I dressed it up as virtue on its own. Plenty of people suffer through hard mornings and build nothing because they suffer without direction, without a seed in the ground, without a season in mind. The goal is to choose discomfort on purpose, in small, deliberate doses, so that you remain the kind of person who can rise to whatever life eventually demands of you without notice. Because life will demand things of you without asking permission first. It always has, for everyone. The only real question is whether, when that moment comes, you'll have spent years building the capacity to meet it, or years avoiding anything that might have prepared you. Waking up early on an ordinary Tuesday, when nothing is on the line and no one is watching, is how you quietly build the version of yourself who won't collapse when something actually is on the line. Comfort feels like safety. It has never once been safety. It has only ever been a very convincing disguise for standing still while everything else, quietly, keeps moving. Let me show you something with numbers, because sometimes a philosophy needs a little arithmetic behind it to really land. Say you decide to read just 10 pages every single morning. 10 pages feels like nothing. It's barely a chapter. It's the kind of goal that sounds too small to bother mentioning out loud. 10 pages a day, for 1 year, is well over 3,000 pages. That's somewhere around 15 to 20 books. Real books, fully read, in a single year, from a habit so small it barely registered as effort on any individual morning. Now stretch that same 10 pages across 5 years. That's 70, 80, maybe 100 books deep into whatever you chose to study, while most people around you are still saying, "I really should read more," the exact same way they said it 5 years earlier. That's the entire secret hiding inside compounding. It was never about doing something enormous once. It's about doing something small, consistently, for long enough that time itself starts doing the heavy lifting for you. The same math applies to 20 minutes of movement, to 5 minutes of planning your day on purpose, to getting up 15 minutes earlier than you used to. None of these, on any single morning, will feel like they're working. That's not a flaw in the plan. That's simply what compounding looks like from the inside, while you're still early in the process. It looks like nothing for a while. Then, one day, usually further out than you expected, it looks like everything. It doesn't start with sweeping changes or grand gestures, but with small, deliberate actions repeated each day. The tragedy is that they quit somewhere around month 2, right in that flat, boring stretch where the effort is fully real, but the results haven't shown up on the scoreboard yet, and they walk away convinced the plan didn't work, when the truth is, they simply left the field before the harvest. Don't be the person who quits during the flat part of the curve. The flat part is not failure. The flat part is where everyone who ever succeeded at anything had to stand for a while, uncomfortable, unseen, and still showing up anyway. Let's talk about tomorrow specifically, because philosophy is easy to agree with tonight, watching a video, fully caffeinated, fully motivated. Philosophy is hard to keep at 5:30 in the morning, in the dark, when a very convincing voice inside your own head starts negotiating on behalf of the blanket. That voice is going to show up tomorrow. I want you to know that in advance, so it doesn't catch you off guard the way it always has before. It's going to say, just this once. It's going to say, you're too tired, you can start properly tomorrow. It's going to remind you very persuasively that nobody will ever know if you hit snooze one more time. Here's what you need to remember in that exact moment, because this is where the entire philosophy either becomes real or stays theoretical. That voice isn't lying to you about the discomfort. Getting up is genuinely uncomfortable. Cold floors are genuinely cold. But that voice is lying to you about the stakes. It wants you to believe this is a small, harmless, one-time decision. It never is. It's never actually about one morning. It's about which version of yourself you're casting a vote for, one small decision at a time. So here's the plan, decided now, in advance, while you're thinking clearly, so you don't have to decide anything at 5:30 in the morning at all. Decide tonight, not tomorrow morning. The version of you who's half asleep with a thumb over the snooze button doesn't get a vote. The version of you who's hearing this right now, awake and clear-headed, is the one who makes the call, in advance, for both of you. Then, the instant the alarm sounds, move your feet to the floor before your mind gets a chance to open a debate. Thinking, at 5:30, is just a polite word for negotiating your way back under the covers. You will not feel like it. I promise you that in advance too, so there's no confusion tomorrow when you don't feel like it. Discipline was never about feeling like it. Discipline is what you do especially when you don't. Let's make all of this real. Let's take it out of philosophy and put it directly into tomorrow morning. Because a lesson you don't apply within 24 hours is usually a lesson you never apply at all. Here's exactly what I want you to do. Not eventually. Not starting Monday. Tomorrow. First, decide your wake-up time tonight, before you go to sleep. A decision made in the dark, half-conscious, thumb hovering over the snooze button, isn't really a decision. It's a negotiation, and you will lose almost every negotiation with a version of yourself still half lost in a dream. Second, the moment the alarm sounds, get your feet on the floor before your mind gets a vote. Move before you think. Third, protect 1 hour, or even just 20 honest minutes if that's genuinely all you have. That belongs entirely to the person you're trying to become, not to any of the roles you already play. Not employee, not parent, not the one answering everyone else's messages. Just you, quietly building you. That might look like movement, reminding your body it's alive before the day starts demanding things from it. It might look like 10 pages of something that sharpens you, rather than something that merely entertains you. It might look like 5 minutes of silence with a notebook, deciding what actually matters today, before the world hands you its own list of what it thinks should matter to you instead. Fourth, and this one might matter more than all the others combined, keep your phone out of the first 30 minutes of your day. The instant you open a screen full of other people's opinions, other people's highlight reels, other people's emergencies, you've handed the steering wheel of your morning to strangers. You cannot build a disciplined life while the very first act of your day is surrendering your attention to whoever shouted the loudest on the internet overnight. That's the entire starting list. Not complicated, not exotic, almost embarrassingly simple. And that's exactly why most people won't do it. We've been trained to believe transformation has to be complicated to be legitimate. It doesn't. The garden has never once cared how sophisticated your theory of gardening is. It only responds to whether you showed up and did the small, unglamorous work, consistently, in the same patch of ground, day after day. You are not planting this for tomorrow. You're planting it for the version of you standing 5 years from today, looking back at this exact video, deciding whether this was the morning everything actually started to turn. Make it that one. Let me show you 2 versions of the same person, 5 years from today. Same starting point, same talent, same opportunities. Only one variable is different: what they chose to do with their mornings. The first version hit snooze most days. Told himself he'd start Monday, then the Monday after that, until he eventually stopped mentioning Monday altogether. His mornings were chaos, rushed and reactive, dictated by whichever notification screamed loudest first. He stayed busy, constantly, and somehow never got further ahead. 5 years moved through his hands the way water moves through open fingers, completely, without him ever quite feeling it happen. He is not a failure. He is not a bad person. He is simply 5 years further into a direction he never actually chose. Still standing in the same field, having sown the same seeds, quietly wondering why the harvest never arrived. The second version isn't smarter, isn't luckier, wasn't handed a single advantage the first version didn't also have. But 5 years ago, she made one decision, and then made it again the next day, and the next, until it stopped being a decision at all, and simply became who she was. She rises before the world asks anything of her, not as punishment, but as ownership, because she decided long ago that the first hour of her day belongs to her, and every hour after that belongs to whatever she built in that first one. She is calmer, not because her life has fewer problems, but because 5 years of mornings have made her someone capable of handling problems without being ruled by them. She trusts herself, because trust is nothing more than the accumulated evidence of 1,000 small promises kept. She isn't perfect. She still has hard days. Winter still visits her, the same way it visits everyone. But she knows, deeply, that winter is a season and not a sentence, and she's built enough discipline over 5 years of mornings to wait it out without losing her nerve. Here's what I need you to actually understand. The distance between those two people was never talent. It was never luck. It wasn't even circumstance, not really. It was 5 years of mornings. That's the entire difference, quietly multiplied into 2 completely different lives. You are going to become one of those 2 people, whether you consciously decide to or not. Time does not wait for your decision. It keeps moving regardless, and it turns whatever you plant, or fail to plant, into a harvest either way. So the only real question left is which version of that story you're currently writing, and whether tomorrow's alarm is where you finally pick up the pen. Here's everything, compressed into a single sentence, because that's ultimately all a philosophy needs to be. Simple enough to remember at 5:30 in the morning, when no part of you wants to move. How you wake up is how you live, and how you live is simply the sum of every morning you were finally brave enough, honest enough, or tired enough of your own excuses to get up and build instead of wish. Nobody is coming to make this decision for you. Not your job, not your circumstances, not this video, not even the 6 a.m. version of yourself, who will still, every so often, try to negotiate for 9 more minutes. Discipline or regret, winter or harvest, wish or build. You already know which one you actually want. So tonight, set the alarm, not for the person you've been until now, but for the person you are finally done waiting to become.